And so we're sitting with the woman at the well today. A woman who came to the well at noon because that's when she was allowed to come in her mind, rejected by others, not fit for society. Here she comes and she encounters Jesus. And Jesus sits with her and invites her to reimagine her identity in him. And we watch as she actually moves through all the layers with him. It's brilliant. It just blew my mind this week as I sat with it. And so I want you too to be noticing and watching which characters are operating at what level in their knowing of their insides. What's actually happening? Where is there a reach, that we've talked about, that the false self has, where we're trying to get something and we're trying to be our own source for it? Where is there just a being where just life flows? Where do we notice the rigidity of the false self and the dividing lines? Where do we notice the softness and the welcome and the contented trust of the true self? Just notice. This woman's identity, who she is, who she understands herself to be, her identity is connected to all of those social norms, all of those customs, all of those very strict boundaries that her religion puts on her, that her society, her culture, her friends, her peer group, her identity is wrapped by the culture around her. And I really appreciate Curt Thompson's work as an interrelational neurobiologist who helps us understand something about how we form identity in general. And he says, we like to think that we are self-identifying, that we declare who we are, that we are masters of our own universe. But the truth is that we are always collaborating in the stories that we tell. We do not tell our stories alone. From the moment you're born, there is a birth story that you were born into, where you were welcomed and delighted over, or you were like, oh, how did this happen? There's a story, and that affected how you came to see yourself. And this woman had learned through the story of her life, whether or not she was acceptable or not, worthy or not, where she should go, what she could do, all of it had been dictated for her. And Jesus comes in and he says, if you knew the generosity of God and who I am, you would be asking me for a drink. He doesn't play the identity game. In fact, he's already embodying how that game doesn't hold up for him. And he's inviting her to a question that I have sat with this week in a really personal way and asked myself, do I know the generosity of God and who he is? Do I ask him for a drink? Do I say, hey, I am thirsty. I'm going to come to you with my wants instead of reaching to solve my own thirsts? And I don't know, as I did this work inside of me, I heard the woman, like she comes in and she's like, you don't even have a bucket. And do you think you're better than? And I mean, how many times do I do that to Jesus? You don't even know what I'm, feeling about this, or I don't have this that you can use. And I have all my excuses for why I maybe can't even ask for this drink. Oh, but Jesus, he doesn't go there. Once again, he doesn't answer her question. He just says, anyone who drinks the water I give will never thirst ever. He's just inviting her to a vision beyond what she can imagine. And there is something called an artesian well, which is this source of boundless water that just flows. The way that it works naturally, and again, we have nature just showing us beautiful truths, is there's enough pressure under the surface of the ground that the water just comes endlessly, has an endless stream of life flowing underneath it. This is the picture. This is the picture of what Jesus is saying. When he's saying, there is life, endless life, that I am coming to offer you. And the woman is like intrigued. And so she builds up her courage. Sir, give me this water so that I don't ever have to get thirsty. And then I love this, so I never have to come back to this well. David Benner uncovers this so beautifully for us. He says, after 4 decades of Christ following, one thing above all has become supremely clear to me. I can't make the spiritual changes that I want on my own. I cannot will myself into surrender. I cannot simply screw up my determination and choose God's will over mine once and for all. What I can do, however, is talk to God honestly about the realities of my soul. And in that moment, I think I talked to God honestly about the realities of my soul, but I actually realized that he wants to convict me, and I want to talk around it in circles. So does this lady. He just tells her, you've had actually 5 husbands, and the guy you're with isn't even married to you. And she's like, oh, you must be a prophet. So tell me, why is it that we're on this mountain worshiping when the Jews do? Like, can you see her totally just like skirting what's just been exposed? Which, I do. And he again just leans in closer and says, dear woman, the time has come and is in fact here when what you're called will not matter. Where you go to worship will not matter. Can you see it? He is embodying what we hear and read in Ephesians. That's talked about Jesus being the one who breaks down all the barriers. In Ephesians, we read, for he, Jesus himself, is our peace, who has made the 2 groups one and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility, by setting aside in his flesh the law with its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the 2, thus making peace, and in one body to reconcile both of them to God through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility. Friends, Jesus is coming to put to death all of those lines inside yourself that say worthy, not worthy, safe, not safe, dignified, undignified, powerful, weak. He just cares about who you are and the way you live and how you're pursuing truth. That's the kind of person the Father's actually out looking for. You are being sought. He is looking for those who will not just want the truth, but are willing to see the truth inside of themselves. So the question I've asked every week, where are you? The Father is out looking for worshipers who will worship him in spirit and in truth. How familiar are you with your lairs? Are you willing to come to the Father and simply pour out the truth of yourself to him and encounter him there?